Imagine, you're a 17 years old who finally got recommended to watch one of the greatest anime of all time. The title itself wasn't unfamiliar to you, but this was basically your first true encounter with the franchise. You went through the first 3 episodes and got hooked to the whole thing, so you proceeded to the next one, only to encounter that one particular thing. What is it, you ask? A truck. Hitting you from every direction at the same time. You were filled with rage, with shock, and with disbelief. The episode left you with a huge question that lingered until the end of the 64th. Years and years had passed, and you saw that truck again. You saw him again as one of the most hated characters of all time in the whole anime universe. Who is he? How is he? And more importantly, why is he? He's the one bringing us the ultimate question that started the journey in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Welcome to NonsensIcal, a series where I, Ical, talk about anything from anime, storytelling, to the experiment of making dog-eared girls. While there should definitely be a point being made, just like the title of the series, this whole thing may as well be some nonsense about the father of the century, Shou Tucker.
いるんですね、天才ってやつは。
We left the first 3 episodes with a clear idea of who and what we are dealing with in the grand scheme of things. The Elric brothers go around looking for the Philosopher's Stone that also has something to do with the homunculus. Episode 4, though, starts the real dilemma of the overarching tale with Scar starting a serial murder of state alchemists, and Elric brothers starting to find the morality of the answer that they are looking for. This whole thing was represented by the existence of the suing life alchemist, Shou Tucker. Shou Tucker, bless his heart, is the Chimera research specialist who became a state alchemist because of his achievement in creating a chimera that could talk. Because of said capabilities, Mustang, yes, the ever so glorious Colonel Roy Mustang, recommended him to the brothers. From the start, you could feel something was off from Mr. Tucker. His wife left him, so the house was quite dirty. His research was somehow failing despite the success that made him a state alchemist. He failed the previous year's evaluation, and that year's was right around the corner. The first thing he did the moment he talked to Edward was to question his motivation in doing the research. Edward, understanding the law of equivalent exchange, decided to tell him the reason for their research. Having listened to everything, Tucker, the kind man that he is, immediately welcomed the brothers after listening to their situation and let them study his materials. Despite that, the darkness around Shou Tucker couldn't be shaken off. After all, the chimera that he created 2 years ago could only say one thing, and one thing only. I want to die.
兄さん、わー、お客さんいっぱい。
ニーナ、犬はつないでおかなくっちゃ。
Don't let me trick you into believing that this whole episode is filled with an aura of grim. After all, one of the main themes of Fullmetal Alchemist is family. Edward and Alphonse are who they are because of what's happening around their family. Their father left so early in their lives and their mother died a while later. The whole backstory of the Elric brothers came from the fact that they tried to resurrect their mother using alchemy. A taboo that literally cost Edward an arm and a leg, and the whole body of a brother, obviously. That whole backstory tied closely to the angel of this particular episode, Nina, and the good boy, Alexander. In fact, These two were the ones who showed up first when our protagonist arrived at the Tucker's humble abode. The episode never focused on research about their bodies. It's on Nina and Alexander. In other words, it's on Shou Tucker's other side, his family. You see, at some point you were lulled into the false sense of security because the two children are healthy, well-mannered, and cheerful. Nina was clearly raised right, and that messed with all the suspicions on Shou Tucker a little bit. Oh, he just looked tired. He's probably not twisted. It's just a father trying to do his best at his job. Nina, whose mom left and father was busy, felt really close to Ed and Al. That's why the immediate connection between them all showed. While the other thread about state alchemists being killed left and right went, Edward and Alphonse were busy playing with the children in the middle of their studies. While the pressing issue of Tucker's deadline was coming up, Nina was the one there to lift her father's spirit. Nina was shown as an important part that pushed her father forward. An important part in his life that kept him going. An important part that would keep his career going. At the height of Scar's killing spree, Shou Tucker was at the end of his wit. The deadline was coming and he still couldn't produce any result. So, what was the answer to that? What was the answer he needed? That answer was the one that brought him his career in the first place. The recipe for a great twist isn't how shocking the twist is. It is the build-up. The design and demeanor of Shou Tucker alongside the grim chimera he created before were things that raised suspicions over his actions for us. But the relationship that he had with his family gave him the benefit of the doubt. We were given another possibility that maybe we judged him too soon. Maybe he was actually a decent guy who was a little too ambitious. That, plus the narrative that he's not a genius compared to the Elric brothers, gave relatability to the viewers who might feel the same way. All of that guided us to the darkest part of the episode. The reveal of what his last creation would be. Nina and Alexander were transmuted together into a chimera. At that time, all of our suspicions were confirmed, creating one of the best twists in anime. That twist, though, didn't serve no purpose. The twist served as an important role to the whole narrative of Fullmetal Alchemist. It brought a question to us. A question that is properly conveyed by Shou Tucker himself. It presented a doubt that was necessary for us to understand the whole meaning of the story. It pushed the main character to question what they want and what they've been doing. It raises a question for the supporting characters about the whole reasoning of them being state alchemists in the first place. It gave us that dilemma on how to react when Scar finally killed Shou Tucker for his sins and Nina to end her pain. It wasn't one that justified Tucker's action. It wasn't one that Tucker used as an excuse. It was a question to remind all of them, Edward, Alphonse, and everyone else who called themselves state alchemists. Haven't you all done the same?
なんで誰も分かってくれないんだろうな、ニーナ。
The state alchemist must be willing to act without refusing, to even kill someone when ordered. In that sense, Tucker's and our positions aren't that far apart. Those are the words of Colonel Roy Mustang at the end of episode 4. Father of the century, am I right? The reason why I wrote this video was the fact that Shou Tucker became such a phenomenal presence in the anime community, pushing him to be one of the most hated characters of all time to this day, despite him existing only for one episode more than 10 years ago. Hell, that is not even the most evil thing that happened in Fullmetal Alchemist. But that is not without a reason. The arc of Tucker and Nina was the most important one in the whole overarching tale of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. It was what set the tone for the series. It was what immediately introduced Scar's motivation. It was what raised all of our gradual distrust to the whole organization that is the military in that story. The tragedy of Nina and Alexander was what motivated Edward and Alphonse to find the right way and not the easier ones to return to their original bodies. The question presented was the one keeping their drive and methods in check, because that's what Fullmetal Alchemist is about. It's a big question for all of us about our own humanity. As I end this video, if you haven't watched it, please do check Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood out. It's a masterpiece. I'm sure some available streaming services in your region have it. I recently watched a few episodes for the sake of making this video and got reminded of how beautiful the story was. Maybe one day I should write about the best couple in anime, Edward and Winry. Well, if you like this type of content, check out the previous episode of NonsensIcal about Fabula Ultima. In the meantime, see you later, weeps!